with your host, Suleiman Al-Zahafi. Hi, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of On the Mic with your host, Suleiman Al-Zahafi. We're very excited, especially today in the studio. We have a full house. Today's discussion is going to be very interesting about comedy, about experience in media, and all of the details about how they grew as a business and happening with the changes here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce everyone here in the house. First of all, we'll start with Peter. Thank you so much for joining us. And we have Abir. And of course, we have Mish'al. We'll go one by one. Introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're from, and little details about yourself.
Thank you. Happy to be here. My name is Peter Howarth Lees. I'm originally from the UK. I've been in the kingdom for 24 years.
24 years, wow.
24 years, man and boy. Came as a young baby. And I originally came to work in business. I was in the motor trade, working for Ford in marketing. And after a few years, I met my lovely wife, Abir. And sort of by accident, around about 2008, we got into the underground entertainment scene. And we started producing stand-up comedy in Saudi Arabia.
So you were after the funny money?
It wasn't about the money. It was passion. It was actually interesting because I have a love for stand-up comedy, and having been here as an expat for about 4 or 5 years, I got into the theatre scene, and there was a growing theatre scene. And I've become an actor, director, producer in semi-professional theatre. And so I was on stage, I was acting, I was producing, but I could see that there was an opportunity to bring professional acts to the kingdom.
We needed a little humor in our life.
We did. I mean, comedy breaks down barriers. There's nothing better than getting people together to laugh.
You ever heard the expression, laughter is the best medicine?
Absolutely,
so it really is. You're practically a doctor now.
It really is. And but there was no scene. There was a theatre scene, but it was just for the expats. I didn't really have many Saudi friends until I met my wife Abir, and then my friend circle expanded, and I was lucky to have Saudi friends and expat friends.
Indeed. So just for ladies and gentlemen at home, Peter is from the UK. He's married to Abir Al-Foti. She's a Saudi. And tell us a story. You guys met, and I feel like it's very interesting regarding that.
Hi, so Abir Al-Foti. I currently work in philanthropy, and I'm the co-founder of Smile Entertainment with Peter. And before that, I'm always involved in education, human development, and culture. So that's
So you're like the arts of life, and he's the arts of humor.
Absolutely.
It's something very interesting. You have to enjoy life, which I can see you guys love what you do.
Yeah, and I think I was this guy Brit coming to for what for me was a kind of an alien environment, and I was lucky in meeting Abir and then getting the opportunity to learn about a different culture. Through having Saudi friends and Saudi family. But I could see a lot of my expat friends were alienated from that. And there was not an opportunity for people to get together. And then when we started doing our stand-up comedy shows, the biggest thing for us was to have Saudis and non-Saudis in the same room, experiencing laughter, experiencing some entertainment that they could laugh together at. And it was about bridging, it sounds cliched, but it really was. It was bridging cultures through the medium of laughter. And that's what we did. And that passion drove us in the underground scene for about 4 or 5 years.
So instead of breaking bread, you broke jokes.
We did. Yeah.
So now we have also our another VIP in the house from, shall I nickname him Hollywood or?
No, nobody's.
Mish'al
You are.
Saman. The Saudi guy that, was trending on the Late Late Show. Tell us about you. Introduce yourself. I'm sure they all know you, but give us a little introduction.
A new introduction? I don't know.
A newer introduction.
A
Tell us
newer-
something new.
It's always fun to hear you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No pressure.
Well, I don't want this show to be about me.
See what I did
But
there.
see what I did
We
there.
call it on the mic for a reason. Go ahead. You're on the air.
exactly. I'm on the air. Right. Oh, this is going
Yeah.
live? Oh,
Yeah.
great. Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Mishal Khalid Hassan Abdul Hafiz Samman. There is more.
That's
but-
like 10%. Or
Yeah, I think that's only 1/10%, but I'm going to stop there.
That's the short story of the long story.
It's the shorter story of
Shorter,
the long
not
story.
okay.
Thank God.
Yeah. So I really don't want this to be about me. This really is about Peter and his amazing work. But let's see. Raised here in Riyadh, went to Riyadh school, and then went to the U.S. for college, and then started working in the U.S. as an engineer. Then moved to Japan, started working there, did my master's
In Japan?
In Japan,
Okay.
and did my PhD over there. Didn't finish the PhD because I got into acting and comedy and improv in Tokyo, and then moved to Hollywood, and now I am back home, back to Saudi
So we
Arabia.
cannot call you Hollywood. Well,
Don't call me Hollywood.
we'll
no,
call you
Karimashta.
Mish or Misha. We'll
just
stick
call me Mish.
Mish.
Mish is fantastic. This is my stage name, and I'm gonna stick with it.
We love it. It's
So-
nice and short.
Yeah, it is. It's Mish.
Miss.
Rhymes
tell-
with fish.
It's already starting the comedy jokes, which I love it. I love it.
I try.
So Peter, you were saying that you started the underground comedy and stuff like that. And for me, I lived in the States, so I know comedy. I lived it and everything. I'm not sure you guys know, but I'm half Saudi, half American. I was born in Riyadh, but I lived in the States all my life. So yeah. So you were here for 24 years, longer than I was actually living in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you for making me feel so old. Thank you. So
We
much.
feel like you're one of the individuals, like with changes in Saudi Arabia, the good changes. You're part of that. You're the comedy. You're the guy that after a long, stressful day, we want to have a very good laugh, and we're the guy we thank you for. We avoid the doctor. We come to you.
Yeah, we are very proud of what we did. We kind of, we all have, everyone has regrets, and we should always look forward. I kind of regret that we stopped at the time because it was difficult to continue because we were underground, and during that time we were sticking to our own self-censorship. We weren't crossing any red lines. And we had wonderful audiences, but commercially it couldn't work. It couldn't work long term. And we said we would come back. And alhamdulillah, in 2019, when the General Entertainment Authority launched the first initiative, which was Riyadh Season, we got on the tail end of that. So we did wait a long time, waited an awful long time before we came back. But we came back in December, January of 2018, and we planned some shows. We did a pop-up show, King Abdullah Financial District. First time we'd done comedy for a long time. We did it all in Arabic with Saudi and Arabic expat comedians. And then 2 weeks later, we all know what happened. The pandemic hit us, and all of our plans for 2020 went out of the window. So we kind of thought, well, is this it? Will we ever come back? We waited a couple of months, and of course the pandemic went from 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 2 years. But we were determined, and we're now coming back, and we have a show next week.
I believe you had your first show, like recently.
No, our first show is next week. So
Next week, okay.
yeah, so our first show pre-COVID is next week.
Actually, it's this week.
It's actually
It's going to be on Thursday the 25th.
on Thursday. I beg your
So
pardon.
that's-
Yes,
that's this
we are
week.
On the 24th, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Which day?
25th.
25th.
25th. Yeah.
Okay.
I hope you do know me. because you're
24th, you're going to
performing.
be outside waiting to get in.
I already have my tent ready, just to be ready.
Because yeah, we're gonna sell out, man.
We were really sold
Inshallah.
out.
You know,
Inshallah.
I was surprised. Like many of my friends were asking, "You're gonna go there? You're gonna go there? You're gonna go there?" I was like, "How? Even better. I'll bring him to a studio for you." They thought I was joking, and everything worked out.
And it's interesting how Mish and I met through comedy theatre, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because we'd never met up until COVID. It was 2020. You'd just come back to the kingdom.
Yes.
And
No. 2021.
Was it 2021?
I just got back last year.
Oh, beg your pardon, 2021, yeah.
Yes.
So 2021, yeah. So it was just still during the COVID, during the pandemic era. And there's an expat theatre group, Riyadh Community Theatre, who were putting on a play, and they asked me to act in it, which I did, and they were casting for the lead role. So it was a play that we'd done previously in 2020, and we were reprising the play for 2021. And they were looking for someone to play the lead role, and someone I think I talked to Mish on social media, and he knew of me and I knew of him, and then he became famous with his...
I was a big fan.
I was a bigger fan of his, because he'd become famous on the...
I was...
Start complimenting
Mutual
each
love.
other.
Mutual.
Compliment
We'll
each
just stay on the
other.
Yeah,
sideline.
exactly.
This
We'll
show
stay
is
on the
not gonna
sideline.
end. Maybe you and I can have a
And we
conversation.
got the opportunity to act on stage together in a comedy play, and it was fantastic. And we really, really gelled on stage. We'd love to do it again. And when the opportunity to restart our stand-up comedy shows came, the first person I thought of to get on stage, who could perform, who's Saudi, who could perform in English, was Mish. So we're very proud that Mish is going to be kicking off our show.
No, just to riff on what Peter was saying. I had been a fan of Peter's, and I didn't know it was Peter that I was a fan of when he started the comedy here in Saudi Arabia, because I was not in Saudi Arabia. I was in Japan at the time, and I was watching what was happening in Saudi Arabia. And
Wow.
because people post things on YouTube, and
Oh, interesting.
social media wasn't a big thing.
So
but
he was on the ground, literally.
he was,
on
yeah,
the ground.
he was
But we were
doing,
posting.
you know, and he was doing all of this. And then I saw all the comedians coming out, you know, and I was watching, and I was so proud being outside watching Saudi
changes,
Arabia
yeah.
changing, even if it was quote unquote underground. It was something for me. It's like, wow, this is the paving the way for a change to happen fluidly. You know, not muijbari. It's not.
Yeah,
you know,
smoothly.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's
Not forced.
smoothly. It's
Softly.
not forced.
I agree.
This was something that I was
It
like.
was organic.
Exactly. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. And then, you know, me starting entertainment and becoming an actor in Japan and everything, and started my voice work and doing the comedy and doing improv. Every time I'd come back to Saudi Arabia for vacations, people would say, you have to meet Peter and Abir. You have to meet Peter and Abir. You have to meet Peter and Abir. I'm only here for 10 days. And, you know, we would communicate. They'd give us our numbers. And we, oh, where are you now? Okay, next time you're in Saudi, you forget about it. Like Peter said, 2021, I came back to Saudi. I said, okay, pack my bags, go back home, because now there is actually hope
Yeah.
in Saudi Arabia, and
Wow.
everything is opening up. And then we get cast in a play, and the person who introduced us was actually somebody who I had been acting with in Japan, and she was in the play as well.
Wow. Small
and
world.
Very small world.
Yeah, very small world. So she asked me to do the play and put in my resume, and I went in. The director said, fine, we're in the play. I meet up with Peter. Our characters were amazing. I loved it. And then he and I gelled well, just like he said. And I was just like, oh, this is Peter. Oh, I've been trying to get a hold of you for like 10 years, and now we're in a play together, and he played my best friend. And it was just, everything was just...
What you were saying, Mish, actually really touches my heart, because, you know, I was the person who owns the company and who's going to get in trouble if something went wrong. So every show we had, I used to have like palpitations and nightmares until the show is ended and everything goes well. But to be completely honest, when you say when you were in Japan and you knew about what is happening in Saudi Arabia, I'm happy, because this is exactly what we wanted to do. I was Saudi, married to a Western, and at that time, what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring people together.
Yeah.
And we thought the best way to bring people together is through laughter and culture, or specifically laughter. Because when you sit and laugh about your social lives, about, you know, things that, your daily things that you can actually relate to, people immediately remember that we're one and we're similar, we're the same. So our mission was actually to showcase How can we coexist and laugh together? And we didn't think it would grow so big. We started to just bring some happiness and joy and togetherness in Riyadh, but it grew so big, and I'm so proud to say that the Saudis who joined us, because we wanted to train Saudis as well and develop their skills, because we are a funny nation.
Yeah.
Saudis, we are funny. No matter what happens, the first jokes that comes, and everyone waits actually for what Saudi is going to do with this incident that happened in the world. We're going to make jokes about it from here to kingdom come. But we needed to clean, to train, to develop the skills to become professionals. And that's what we wanted to do, and I'm glad we are able to do this now.
I'm amazed every time like we have a program or anything. There's certain stories that really sticks with me. This is one of them, because in the entertainment here, the General Entertainment Authority, they're launching entertainment and stuff that's happening around the world, and then bringing it here. So you guys are part of that change and the laughter and everything. Many people ask, like, is there any comedy shows? Is there any entertainment like that? And I told them, no, we have social media, but it's not the same. We want to see it. We want to laugh. We want to drink water and like have a spit take laughing, stuff like that. We want it natural. But I guess
Exactly.
Corona had its good and bad,
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there's no substitute for live entertainment, and I think COVID proved that. I mean, we tried it. We tried some online stand-up comedy, and my friends in the UK and the US tried the same. But there's a certain energy that doesn't communicate across,
Sure.
a telephone, a mobile phone screen, or a TV even. And you see that. I mean, I watch comedy all the time. Abir and I will watch Netflix specials of comedians. And it's good, but it's not great because you don't feel the energy in the room.
In the room, yeah, I was about to
Yeah.
say that. You have to be at the location.
And I think going back to what Abir said was when we had Saudis and non-Saudis who'd never met before, they never had the opportunity to meet, they didn't socialize, there weren't restaurants they could go to, they didn't work together. And we brought them together in the same room. So you had someone performing on stage, Saudi and non-Saudi, talking to this mixed audience who were sitting cheek by jowl in a darkened room or a as it was,
It was
a
actually
tennis
theatres.
court. And you could feel this energy. You feel the energy from the stage and you feel the energy from the audience. You can't replicate that on social media. But I have to say that when we stopped, the comedians that we gave an opportunity to perform on stage, such as Fahad and Ibrahim, Khalid, they and Omar, they went onto YouTube, and
They became big.
YouTube, blew up in the kingdom.
And that makes us proud, really.
And through the medium of comedy,
I think you should
these
guide-
companies became quite.
You should have the
big,
stamp made in Saudi for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, we
I
wish them
actually
all the
love that
best.
idea.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually love
Stop
that
made
idea.
in
We
Saudi.
needed a made in Saudi.
Any person that agrees with me will do a far away high five. But yeah, it's very creative. I feel like the young generation, they were waiting for this to happen.
Yeah, and very, very creative. I mean, you look at what they did with La Yakhta, with Fahad, and Omar's TV show with U-Turn, or YouTube show with U-Turn. And then that spawned many other, I wouldn't say copycats, but it inspired and spawned so many other creatives, Saudi men and women, or boys and girls, who could suddenly find a voice. They thought, they saw their peers doing it. They thought, well, why can't I do it? I'm funnier among my friends.
Yes.
Why can't I be funny
discovered their
in
talent.
front of my telephone or in front of my webcam and my mic? And suddenly there were, YouTube sensations with millions of followers. And as you say, as Abir said, Saudi Arabia is such a funny nation. The darkest humor can come from a little incident, and it's you just go on Twitter, and 10 minutes later there's thousands of memes about
And
a
jokes,
particular
yes.
incident, and it's just finding humor in everything.
It's true. You have to laugh at life. You have to.
You have
enjoy-
to, yeah.
So yeah,
That is something I completely believe in. If I believe in, like, the whole idea that if you can't laugh at yourself, what gives you the right to laugh at other people?
Yeah.
So
That's
you,
true.
you
Yeah.
can just, if you can laugh at yourself, if you can laugh at the situation, you're halfway down to happiness.
Yeah,
You're
definitely.
halfway there to happiness because it's right there. And if something funny happens, when something really, really bad happens, you're crying really bad, but then you're all of a sudden you start laughing. That's your soul telling you
Life
need
is
to
good.
laugh at the situation.
Life is good.
You know, it
Yeah,
just-
but the risky, the risky part about that, not everyone thinks the same way.
Yes.
That's why you see that stand-up comedy and stand-up comedians now, they fear and they are at risk.
Misinterpret
I mean,
it.
let's take the incident, the famous incident of
Will Smith?
Will Smith smacking.
Was that the punchline, I guess, from him, or
But I mean, I mean, it's risky. You have to know. You have to understand also as a comedian your limits, and you need to know
Yeah.
not to push the buttons
You know,
of your audience.
But the issue is, I was telling Peter, some people are colorblind. They don't see the red line before they cross it. You know,
that's interesting.
Well, is
I
it-
like
Well,
that. They're
you never-
colorblind.
Well, yeah, there was, what's the, I can't remember what it was, that someone gave me some advice. Better to ask for forgiveness after the fact than ask for permission. And that's what we can.
I think that's Will Smith mentality.
Maybe, but we used to do that back in the day. But we realized we wanted this to continue, so we imposed our own red lines. And the red lines, nothing, no vulgarity, no politics, no religion. And we stuck to those red lines, but we came very close. We came very close to pushing the envelope, but we never offended anyone. Now, I mean, the Edinburgh Festival is just coming to a close at the end of this month. There's been a lot of debate because the Edinburgh Festival, Fringe Festival, is when you get comedians from all over the world, and they come and they've been writing for a long time because they've not been able to perform during the COVID era, and they're doing these shows. And there's some controversy now about some jokes being offensive. And comedy is very subjective. What someone finds offensive, someone else can find, absolutely hilarious. But it is a fine line, between making someone laugh or offending someone. I think the ability to laugh at yourself first,
Yes.
then kind of gives you permission to make fun of other people. And if you go to a comedy show,
I feel like when someone says that, especially with my friends, when I make a joke or something, I ask them, "You guys laughing at me or with me?" So that's always
doesn't
matter.
that's the second question.
As long as they're laughing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Shouldn't matter.
I love that. That's my whole self-deprecating humor is always my thing to go to. It's like even in that clip that everybody has seen, when he asked me about my goatee, I said my goatee is so people know where my chin is.
Yeah.
It's like why
you're laughing at yourself.
Why not?
So
I'm
then-
laughing at myself because it's true
Yeah.
in many
Yeah.
many aspects.
And I think many of us, if you go to a
That's
comedy club, the
amazing.
people on the front row, they sit on the front row because they want to be heckled by
The
or
comedians.
roasted by the comedian on stage. Not everyone wants to do that.
I don't want.
Some people want to sit at the back and hide away. That's fine. Everyone's different. But there is a fine line, and I think that's what makes comedians probably one of the stand-up comedy is one of the hardest professions, I believe,
Yes.
particularly in today's era,
You know,
because you're going on unscripted. I mean, I'm an actor, an amateur actor. I can't do stand-up comedy. I have to have a
Something
script.
prepared,
I
yeah.
have to remember my lines. I can't go on and improvise. And I have a lot of admiration and respect for
Respect.
people who can go on, not only make people laugh, but stay within those boundaries which the society now is imposing.
No pressure.
With the new woke society, and it's a difficult minefield to step across. And
We give shout out to all the comedians.
Definitely, you got to give your hats off to stand-up
Absolutely.
comics because honestly, it is. I mean, I did stand-up comedy for a while, and then I just stopped. Why? Because it's a lot of work. What people don't realize is that you're always writing. You're always trying to find new material, especially in today's day and age, and especially in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, because everybody's recording. Everybody's recording your stuff, so you have the pressure of coming up with new material because everybody most likely has
Heard it,
seen
yeah.
or heard your previous jokes. It's harder and harder and harder to do. I learned comedy in Japan, so I did manzai. Manzai is basically two-man comedy, which is the old style like Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello, and stuff like that. That is still funny. I dread, like Peter said, I dread having to go out and do monologues all the time because it is a monologue, basically. Yeah. You're telling your jokes all the time by yourself. You can crash and burn, or you can succeed. When you have somebody else there with you on stage, you have the opportunity to riff off of somebody else. Somebody else can save you.
But
at
I
the
feel
same
like you'll
time.
always be on fire whether you crash and burn, you know. So you can definitely stay.
Yeah, but
Not the right fire you were looking for.
That's not the right fire. That's not the fire I was talking about.
But yeah, mentioned something because there was I forgot who said it in U.S. Is that whether you say something today, and it's brought up after 5 years ago, something offensive, not offensive. I feel like he said there's no right way of saying it. You know, if people enjoy it, they laugh it, they should laugh with it. If they get offended, they should kind of like understand or realize why they got offended. But at the end, people should kind of understand like life should be not as a joke, but you should laugh through life. You know, you should enjoy it, like you were mentioning, Peter. Because at the end, like you were saying, it's like where's the red line, where's this and that. People have different perspective, or whereas you can be in the right side of the red line, you can be in the left side of it, and anything. Like you're from UK, you're from Saudi, you're Saudi American, you lived in Japan. So it comes down to perspective, I feel sometimes. But at the end, people should just kind of laugh.
Yeah.
Whether it's like you feel it's funny, not funny, laugh. You know, you should kind of just live life. And I feel like this is what the whole point of comedy. Laugh at yourself, laugh at your friends. That's more funnier than laughing at yourself, though. But still.
You know what? Actually, I think it's about the values that we're trying to teach, and we're trying to promote of tolerance and respect to the other, and take time to let others express themselves and be cool about it. This is one of the most powerful things that I think we're doing through producing and being in the field of stand-up comedy. It's a lot. It is so much that is changing. I remember when we started before, one of the lessons I have learned about people and about myself and the society was when we used to produce the shows, and it was mixed at that time. 2008, men and women, and we had music, Westerns and Saudis, and then we were thinking that the community should mix, and if they mix, something wrong's gonna happen. But I saw the Saudis coming together. The boys were so respectful of the girls. They were sitting there receiving the art and leaving on a high with big smiles, with a lot of respect, and the Westerns also mixing with them. This is what culture can do, what producing culture and investing it in culture can do in the society to mature. So even with the people like stand-up comedians and the people who produce it, what they go through is not wasted, because you are actually helping your society grow. And I give another shout out to the Entertainment Authority, GIA. They have been beyond supportive, and now, working now versus when we worked before, I tell you, I'm going to the show, I'm not worried, I'm going relaxed, I know I'm backed up, I know I'm supported, I know there is the infrastructure there. So this whole change is something to remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sea change. I mean, if you go back to when we were doing it, it is a generation ago. So, and what's changed? Well, the people coming to our show have changed now. What's interesting, and I say this to a lot of people when I talk about what we did, and I don't want to hark back to the past, because Saudi Arabia is a new country now. But I think
with the changes, I think Peter's like it was the right time, the right place, and the right moment for the society.
But there's been two changes. The audience has changed, and what's interesting is the people that came to our shows between 2008 through 2012. Some of them graduated, went to universities around the world, came back. They're now running the ministries. They're now working in the General Entertainment Authority.
Wow.
They're working with His Excellency Turki al-Sheikh. And what the General Entertainment Authority are doing now across all levels of entertainment is amazing. We're just a very small part of it. So there's been the change in the audience, and then there's the change in the way that the government now views entertainment. Entertainment wasn't even thought about by the government, 15 years ago.
My question I always want to ask for individuals, like when you first started and compared to now, what is the feedback reaction from the audience enjoying the laugh? Like, how do they feel in the beginning? I know they were laughing and everything, but like now, of course, it's like a bigger audience. Like, what feedback have you gotten throughout the years?
Well, it's hard to say because we were out of the market for such a long time, and we did this small pop-up show just before COVID. It was quite a small show, about 600 people. It was all in Arabic. But someone came to me who was actually working for the General Entertainment Authority, who'd been to our shows 10 years ago. And he said, Peter, it's just like the old days. I felt like I was at one of your underground shows. The vibe is still there. I don't think anything changed in the way that we produce the comedy. I think what's changed is the audiences have changed. Jokes have changed. People laugh at different things now. I think, particularly here now, people's tastes have matured. You might be able to get away with a weak joke 10 years ago. Now you can't. I think we've got, because of what's been happening now with entertainment across the board, people's expectations have risen. So you can't get away with not being professional now. You've got to be funny, and you've got to make sure that you deliver and you produce, and it's a slick show. So that's what's changed. So the pressures, the pressure to perform, is greater. The pressure to produce high quality shows is greater. But that's great. That change has been very positive.
What do you expect in the future for like in terms of production and more comedy shows? Because I feel like we cannot just have an appetizer. We have to have a continuum.
Well, that's a good question. So there's two scenes going on at the moment. There's what we're doing, which is bringing international comedians and doing shows in English. And although we introduced Arabic stand-up comedy, we didn't run with it because it wasn't our thing. Didn't really go anywhere apart from in Jeddah, where Yasser has done an amazing job with Al Comedy Club in Jeddah. There's no comedy club in Riyadh. Now, there's a group of young guys, I'm sure they won't mind me mentioning, I'm not mentioning any names because I don't know who they all are, but they run something called Comedy Pod. And it's not underground, but they're doing little comedy shows in Arabic in restaurants and cafes. And they're growing. And I think what they're doing is fantastic because they're maturing, they're finding their feet. What we would love to do is to be able to find the best of those guys and to put them on stage with international professional performers on the same stage to bigger audiences. And that's what we would like to do in future. That's our goal, is to bring Saudis and locals who want to perform, but give them a wider audience. Eventually, we want to have a comedy club in Riyadh. I want to see 10 different comedy clubs in Riyadh.
Yeah, sounds
Every city in the world should have a comedy club. Most major cities do. Riyadh doesn't. And Riyadh is going to be the global hub of the Middle East when it comes to business, travel, tourism. Riyadh is going to grow. Its population is going to double by 2030. I expect by 2030 there'll be several comedy clubs in Riyadh.
I personally want to see us leading the entertainment and comedy and live shows and late night shows in the region. I want to see Saudis, men and women, are winning Oscars with the productions that they do. That's what I want to see.
Indeed, I feel like you mentioned a lot of stuff I won't say we're lacking, but we're like kind of not being a part of, but now it's growing. You mentioned something about the young Saudi talent. I've seen many people that I know personally and through friends. They're very funny. They're funny. They just need the platform. Their comedy is like it shakes your belly. That's how funny it is. You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah, I mean, the Shabab.
Everyone
I got a big
himself.
belly.
Everyone speaks for himself.
I got
His
a
belly
big belly.
shaking funny.
Hey, I don't mind doing any belly dancing right now with the comedy, no problem. Not to cut you off, but to reiterate what Peter had just said and what Abir has just said, amazing things. I think the biggest thing that we have to be proud of in Saudi Arabia is the idea of acceptance. We've accepted it. Okay. The next step is to stop getting offended at some of these things.
But society, not even in Saudi Arabia, all around the world, they get offended for anything.
I think
you're right.
I
agree.
Being outside for so long, I realized that the Middle Eastern culture is the easiest to get offended.
Okay.
All right. And it's not a bad thing. That's just the way we're wired, you know. And I think for comedy to truly, truly expand, it is maturing fantastically. You know, you pioneered, Peter, you pioneered, Abir, you pioneered this whole idea of doing the stand-up comedy and the whole comedy scene in itself. Once we get past that hurdle of complete acceptance of these, you know, funny situations, we get to expand more. And like Peter said, and what Abir has mentioned, you want to see more clubs, you want to see more things happening here in Saudi Arabia, and it's going to happen. What's going to end up happening is naturally, the way we're doing things right now, everybody is doing it, is that we're creating a circuit. And that's something that we're finding out right now. And the circuit is just like the F1. And everybody knows what the F1 is. You know, you have an F1 race in Qatar, then you have an F1 race in Jeddah, then you'll have an F1 race in Riyadh, then you'll have an F1 race in Bahrain. There is no reason why we shouldn't have comedy circuits where we have Saudi comedians that can go on a circuit, not only here in Riyadh, but in Saudi Arabia, and then the Khalij. And then,
Love that.
And then once this is a profession. People forget this is a profession. This is real work. It's not. Yeah, you have to have the talent to be funny, but you also need to put in the work. You need to put in the time. This is something that a circuit needs to be done. So I can say a joke. It may not be great. Doesn't mean you throw the joke away. It might have hope, you know. Improve it. You're not going to do that. Nothing's going to be perfect in the beginning.
No.
Everything needs time. And alhamdulillah that this has been happening now since 2008. We're now 9, 10, 11, 12, 10, 15. How many years? 14 years? 15 years. We've been advancing for 15 years, and you see it in the comedy that's happening here in Saudi Arabia.
You know, I saw a lot of posting on every social media. Everyone's talking about it. They're like, we're going to get tickets for the upcoming event about comedy. They're like, man, we needed this, you know, especially happening in Saudi Arabia after Corona and everything. I know friends, they went to New York, they went to London, they went to different cities around the world, and they went to comedy clubs. They went to concerts and stuff. There's concerts happening in Saudi Arabia, but now for comedy to be like the next step, I feel like that's a missing factor. That's like the cherry on top, you know? So I feel like, yeah, with the younger talent coming up, with the younger generation, many people have been saying, once Vision 2030 was announced, 70% of the population was 30 years old and below.
Yeah.
So there's a younger generation. Hopefully they're funny as our generation, I guess. But yeah, they have a huge potential. And you
To
guys,
develop.
Abir and Peter, with Mish, as I would say,
Mish.
you guys are creating the platform. You guys are creating the path for them to kind of pick which path they want, which kind of comedy they want. And I think that's the whole purpose of comedy. Laugh, live, love, and pass it on, I guess, you know?
Absolutely.
That's very interesting to do that. But yes, we discussed a lot of things. Anything like I felt like it was very. Any final words or message, Peter, you'd like to mention or say for our amazing audience?
It's a tough one. Keep laughing. Keep laughing. Keep pushing those boundaries. If there are any young Saudis or anyone in the kingdom, whatever your age, background, nationality, if you want to get on stage, give it a try. It's that one step. And if you want to do 5 minutes on one of our stages, get in touch with us. And one day, you could be like Mish, a superstar.
I wish, but thank you.
So you're saying that like a lot of people can actually get in touch with you and
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if we're going to grow, I mentioned earlier there have to be comedy clubs. Yes, that's an aspiration, but comedy clubs can only be sustained if there's enough talent.
True.
But it works both ways. Comedians, if they want to perform and if they want it to be a career, they have to have platforms, and it can't just be once a month. To learn the trade of stand-up comedy, it's like working out. You've got to try that joke. It might fail 20 times and it succeeds finally, but you're not going to be able to do that unless you have an audience. And what the young guys are doing now with their little shows, that will grow. We need more groups like that. in different cities around the country in different languages, not just Arabic and not just English. There's a huge community of Indians and Filipinos here who are funny as well, and they can perform in their own language. So there's no reason why you can't have a truly international comedy circuit, as Mish said, going around the kingdom and around the Middle East.
Like United Nations, but with punchlines and jokes.
Yeah.
For you, Abir, any final words or message?
Well, the only thing I can think about is I speak in general to our youth and say, follow your passion. And you could, even if you fail, it's okay. The best education is when you fail, and be more tolerant to the audience who comes to our shows, and be tolerant with everyone around you, because life is short.
Indeed, that's definitely.
Let's accept.
You have to live life. Even if you have a short life, you live it with a laughter.
Absolutely.
For you, Mishal,
Well, Peter and Abir said everything that I would love to have said.
You're finally lost for words.
Now I'm lost for
No
words.
copycatting.
I do have to say two things. One, kids, stay in school, get an education, because trust me, you can never regret knowing too much. You will always regret knowing too little. And most of the comedians that I know are extremely smart people.
Yeah.
Extremely, extremely smart. And you have to be smart to be ironic and everything. Absolutely. And for you young generation who do want to do this and become comedians or become entertainers in general, you have to know one thing for sure. Your opportunities are there. The opportunities for me were never there when I grew up here in Riyadh.
That's true.
The opportunities are all there. The government is supporting you.
Absolutely.
You are getting support. Comedy places are getting support. Entertainment authority is there to support the entertainment, is to support this amazing talent that we have here in Saudi Arabia. And you talented people are the reason why I finally came back to Saudi Arabia, is because it's here. There is hope, and people like Peter and Abir are allowing for this hope to shine. And thank you guys so much for doing this, and thank you for having me on. And I think that's all I have to say. Beat that, Peter.
So I guess instead of faraway high five, it's mental hugs.
Yes, yes. And we don't have to worry about COVID that bad right now. So the age of tawakkalna is over.
I'm very glad that.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm very glad. I was very excited when they were announced in the comedy clubs and everything. I had to have you guys in the studio. It was quite funny. One of the most funnest interview I've done in my career.
And we didn't even tell a joke.
I didn't even say a joke, except for fish.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Keep it for the stage.
But life is all about joking and having fun and anything like that. So definitely, thank you so much, Mishal, Khalid Saman. Thank you so much, Peter, and of course Abir, for joining us. We're very excited, we're very happy, and we're very proud of what you guys doing. This is just the beginning, as they all saying. If you build it, they will come. You built a platform. The people are definitely coming. You'll probably see me there in the front row with my peanut, as in the peanut gallery.
Just don't throw it at me.
Yeah.
No, I eat it. I'm chunky for a reason.
Oh, okay.
Come and support everybody.
So go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, be a part of the change, be a part of the comedy, and have a nice laugh.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Life is short. You have a stressful life, Go ahead and laugh, and never ever get mad at a comedian. Laugh with them.
Yeah,
understand
support them.
that-
Support the
Yeah,
comedians.
support them,
It's a tough job.
especially the younger generation, is what Peter and Abir is doing, and Mishal being a part of it. So definitely, ladies and gentlemen, life is short. Have a laugh and enjoy your life. Till further episodes of On the Mic with myself, Salman Zahafi, here at Full House in the studio in the capital city of Riyadh with our amazing director, Ibrahim Khamis. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah.
On the Mic. On the Mic with your host, Suleiman Al-Zahafi.